Here we go. So I wanted to throw something up here regarding a situation that is happening in our local community. It's an animal cruelty case. I'll give you the basic rundown. Basically, there was a local woman who was posing as an animal rescue, and she was bringing animals in from other animal welfare organizations and allegedly not giving them care. And when people saw this happening, tracked her down, they made reports. Last week, the animals were seized. So that's the basics. I'm not going to go into detail about this case specifically. I'm not going to talk about what was going on specifically, how terrible the person is, what about the animals, anything like that, because that is not what this video is about. Full disclosure, I have a personal connection to it. There's plenty on TikTok you can go watch and get all the details that you want. I did, however, want to take this opportunity to talk about what happens in an animal shelter when something like this comes to light. Like I've said in previous videos, I have worked at several animal shelters. I was telling a coworker when we saw that this was happening and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, conversations we have are like the same things come up no matter where you are, because the situations might not be the same, although they might be very similar, and the public perception is always pretty much the same. I'm like shaking because I am very angry and I feel passionately about this, which is the whole reason I have made my YouTube channel, is to make the public at large aware of what goes on in animal welfare organizations, to hopefully bring not only more awareness but more compassion to those workers and what we go through. Again, nobody really understands that, and it's a little bit difficult to try and help people understand, but I at least want to try. There is so much that goes on. You, as the public, only see a very, very small amount of it. So the first step when something like this happens is the organizations need to be made aware. So the first step for that is usually making law enforcement aware. So now, as I talked about in a previous video, there are jurisdictions to various animal control agencies, and those are kind of confined to certain cities or municipalities. So they all have their own lines of jurisdiction. So because a person who is allegedly committing animal cruelty or neglect resides in one city, that city's police department and animal control agencies are responsible for handling that case. Another city, county, or unaffiliated organization cannot go in and do anything about it because it is out of their jurisdiction. They can only do something unless that city's responsible entities ask them for help. So the shelter in this story is a privately owned nonprofit, which means they are not beholden to a specific municipality. The only thing they have to do is follow the laws that are laid down in the city where they reside. So if they reside in Phoenix, they have to follow the laws of Phoenix, but they might not be aware of something that is brought to the Phoenix police department or animal control. So they are completely separate entities, and they only work together when they need each other. Just because something gets reported to a city government, that doesn't mean that a non-affiliated nonprofit is immediately aware of the situation. So all of this communication people are assuming is happening isn't always happening. Humans by nature are not good at communicating. You know, these things take time to even be communicated between various cities and organizations. Now, if someone came to the nonprofit and said, hey, this thing is going on over here in this city, that organization can reach out to that city and inquire about what's going on, but they can't do anything until that city asks them for help. If the city isn't pressing charges or is having trouble trying to gather information and put something together, or the city guidelines don't recognize certain things as crimes, the only way to address these things is to take them up to a state level. So beginning a state level case like this is similar to beginning any other kind of case, like a criminal case, a homicide case, anything like that. So animal control officers cannot do anything outside of the law. They are basically held by the law to not violate a person's constitutional rights. That means they need probable cause to get a warrant to go into that property and seize animals. Now, all of that takes a lot of time. Not only does it take time to ensure that the officers have enough evidence for probable cause, but it takes time to file all that paperwork. It takes time to go to court, get before a judge to get the warrant granted, and then go to the property, serve the warrant, whatever happens there, and seize the animals. And maybe a judge won't grant that warrant right away. It takes a lot of time to play by the rules to get meaningful action for animals in situations like this. And that is something that you as the public don't see. You don't see all of that grind behind the scenes, all of that administrative work, and all of that legal work, you know, securing a time to go before a judge, trusting and hoping that that judge is going to grant your warrant in time to go get the animals. The police and animal welfare organizations can't just get a report, go kick down a door or jump a fence and take the animals. All that does is open them up to the person who is allegedly committing the crime to be able to bring a case to those against those organizations to say they violated their rights and stole their property. And unfortunately, across the board, at least in America, animals are considered property. And then the animals aren't helped at all, or it might take longer to help them because now we've been set back by misconduct. In the meantime, the officers that work for organizations, animal welfare officers, things like that, they are doing so much behind the scenes on other cases. And those cases might not have any legal standing, but they are no less important. So you as the public aren't going to see that we're trying to help this homeless person with their dog. We're trying to help this cat that was hit by a car that's a stray. We're trying to heal, litters of 16 puppies with parvo. We're trying to bottle feed 50 plus babies who have lost their mothers. As the public, you don't see these animal control officers going out every day trying to figure out what happened to a dog who is duct taped in a locked crate found in a dumpster. That happens all the time, unfortunately, and you don't see those cases because a lot of the stuff does not get any media attention whatsoever. And apparently, to the rest of the public, that makes it look like animal welfare workers are doing nothing. So once these animals are seized and brought to the organization that is going to handle the case, you don't see what happens when they get into the clinic. You don't see that the vets and their staff are going through every single animal, one by one, inch by inch, and documenting, photographing, treating them, making plans, running labs, taking x-rays, every single thing that they need to do to document and treat as best they can for all these animals that have been seized. And now we are talking tens of animals, up into the 50s, 60s, 70s. We're talking about all of these animals coming in within the span of a few hours, and all of that staff has to do all of those things right away. Literally inch by inch, they have to evaluate these animals and helping them so that they will not be in pain anymore. Now, the vets have the duty and the responsibility to end active suffering for animals. They will not hesitate to do so if they are faced with an animal who is actively suffering, in pain, and at the point where it cannot wait for the good of the animal. That takes a gigantic emotional toll on the vets and their support staff. Now, shelter vets are the most qualified and well-equipped to make those decisions because they deal with this stuff literally, and I'm not exaggerating. It is literally every single day that they are faced with animals who are in similar situations. Again, you might not see these getting media coverage every day, but it is what happens. And I can say that because I am an animal welfare worker and I have seen it, I have been through it, and I know that that is what happens every day. Unfortunately, The only thing really unique about cases like this is the size. Every single day we are seeing animals that are actively suffering, and the vets need to make decisions to stop that suffering because that is what their job is. They know what can wait and what cannot wait, and they are going to make that decision for the good of the animal, regardless of anything else going on. They are focused on what is good for the animal in front of them. The entire process of dealing with these animals at varying extents can go on for days, months, and even years, day in and day out. So when people are leaving comments accusing animal welfare workers and these organizations, flooding their comments, flooding the email inboxes of staff, showing up, protesting just because you don't outwardly see action or you disagree with potential decisions being made that you cannot begin to understand, is actually doing more damage. What you're saying in comments and things like that truly does make these already underpaid, overworked, burnt out staff not want to come into work to do the job that you so desperately want to be done. They feel scared and depressed and helpless and hopeless, because it makes them feel like all of the work they've already done, not just on these cases, but everything else that you don't see, doesn't matter. In this age of social media, the public has already played a huge role in just making everyone aware about this situation. Obviously, no organization that has the facilities to go in and make change for these animals can do anything if they're not aware that something is going on. But the next step is not hate comments, violence, or threats. The next steps are educating yourselves about the ins and outs of the animal welfare system. After that, you lobby to change the legal system at all levels. We as the public can lobby to change the law for animals in so many ways. We can say, hey, we want animals to be seen as more than property that have fundamental rights to life. We can say we want a definite definition for hoarding, and we want that definition to be deemed cruel and neglectful. Luna agrees. We can say we want animal abuse, neglect, and cruelty to be a felony. Right now, it's only a misdemeanor and it does not even carry jail time. There are so many things that we as the public can do and push for in the judicial system for animals that can help make situations like this more clear and garner more meaningful action, hopefully more quickly. Red tape is always going to be a thing, unfortunately. Playing by the rules will always take time, but upgrading how we as a society view our animals will help improve the way these situations are handled in the future. In the meantime, just be kind to your animal welfare workers, your vets, your animal control officers. The suicide rate for this profession is one of the highest in America at 5.3 in 1 million people a year. And it is because of treatment like this from the public. If the public continues down this road of attacking those who can make an actual difference for animals in situations like this every single day, you will have no one to help these animals. And when this happens again, no one will be there because you drove them away. Thanks for listening.